Hatch has many tools that can make digitizing easier. I'm Lindy Goodall, and in this video, I'll introduce you to the Create Outlines and Offsets tool in the Create Layouts toolbox of the Digitizer level. I've used this tool to create key fobs. Here's one. Here's another. See how this is echoing this outline? Another good one is to create custom basting stitches. For example, if you use a basting stitch on your sewing machine, you're just going to have this square, which means we have a lot of open space here in the corners on a diagonal design like this, and that can cause shifting. But you can use the Outlines tool to create a custom basting box that goes right around the design, and I do use that quite a bit. So let's see what we're going to do today. We're going to reproduce this design, and this uses a built-in letter, and the rest is all done with the Outlines tools. So here I've created my letter. This is Flare script. If I double click on it, you can see that it's 75 millimeters tall. That means these satin stitches are huge, and it probably won't sew well. Ultimately, I want to stitch this on a towel as a monogram, and long satin stitches are really not good for that. Plus, if I just sew it on a towel like this, the terry cloth is kind of going to fall over the edges and it won't look real clean. So what we want to do is turn this into an applique and put some mat down stitches behind it. Unfortunately, that's so easy to do with the Create Outlines toolbox, so that's what we're going to do. So with my design selected, I'll go to the Create Layouts toolbox and I'll click on Create Outlines and Offsets. There's a lot going on in this dialog box, so let's look at our options. This first area up here is for creating object outlines. So I'll turn that on. And first we need to pick a stitch type. So we have all the available line types that we can pick. I'm just going to use a single run because we're going to turn it into something else momentarily. And I'm going to leave it at green, although I could pick any of the colors that are on my Design Colors toolbar. So the next thing is to select how I want the outline to be placed. And we have several different options here. And if you hover over each one, you can see what it says. And you can also get a good idea by looking at the picture, and I want it to go around the perimeter, so I'm going to pick this center one. The next group is for our offset outlines. Offsets to the outside of your object will be positive numbers. If you set it at 0, it's just going to add another one right on the perimeter. If you set it to a negative number, it's going to be to the inside. I'm going to set my offset at 2. I can tell it how many I want. I'm going to choose 4, and you'll see in a moment why I'm doing that. And we have the same stitch options here. I'm going to leave it on single run because once again I'm going to change it to something else. I can tell it how I want the outlines to run. And I usually pick this one on the right. Down here we have our corner options. We can have rounded corners, we can have sharp corners, or we can have cut corners. And I think I'm going to go with rounded corners for this one. Our design over here does not have any inside holes, so we don't have to worry about this. We can leave this unchecked. And I'll click OK. There are our outlines. Notice that the green one, which was the one that I selected first in the top of the box, the outline is right on the perimeter of my stitches. And now we have all these red lines. These are our offsets. And I can choose which one I like the best. And I would really like to have at least that one, but I don't really like how it dips in right there, so I'm going to choose this outer one. I'm going to press K on the keyboard to lock it, go to the colors on the sequence bar, select the color, the red tab, and hit delete. I'll do Shift K to get everything unlocked, and I'm going to hide my letter. Now normally you could just delete it here, but sometimes when I'm doing work like this, I leave this object here and just hide it until I'm really done in case I have to go back and do something over again. So I'm going to right click and do Hide Selected. So here are my outlines. I'm going to select this one and I'm going to be able to turn it into an applique because these are closed objects. And when we have a closed object, we have a lot of possibilities. So let's click on the Applique toolbox and I'll say Convert to Applique. There's our applique. Also, since this one is an object, I can change it from outline to filled. Change that to filled, change it to a tatami, and then I'm going to open it up quite a bit, 1.8 millimeters, tell it to travel on the edge, then I'll go to the stitching tab and turn off the underlay, and I'll move it behind my applique. Now I have those mat down stitches that are going to hold my terry cloth down so that the loops do not fall over my design. Now one more thing I'd like to do is put an outline around my applique. When I select this H, notice where the line for this design is. It's right down the center. Let's see what happens when we put an outline on this. So in the Create Layouts toolbox, create outlines and offsets. I'm going to turn off offset outlines. This time I'm going to pick a triple stitch, triple run, and we'll change it to black just so we can see it. And there it is. It's put it right on the edge of my design. So it's looking at the edge of the stitches, not necessarily the line of your object. Are you beginning to see the possibilities with this tool? It's not just for adding outlines.